Welcome to Fluffy Dumplin's Chuck Wagon Garage. Now obviously we ain't in the garage today, and the reason is it's a beautiful September day. It ain't quite fall yet, but it sure is nice out here. So what we're going to do today is going to be outside, obviously, and we're going to smoke some pork. We're going to do some pulled pork today. Now I've got friends that say, Fluffy, show me how to do your pulled pork. I'm coming on over and we're going to do it. Well, the thing they don't understand is that it usually starts on a Thursday and ends on a Sunday by the time we get everything done. So nobody wants to spend that kind of time with Fluffy. So today we're going to do this. We've started on Thursday. It's Saturday today. So we're going to show you what we did Thursday, and then we're going to show you what we're doing today, and then we're going to finish it off tomorrow. We're going to call this phase one. The reason we're calling this phase one of pulled pork is because old Fluffy wants to try a couple of different ways of finishing off the pork. Normally we finish it in the oven, which we'll do this weekend, but we're going to try to finish it outside in the future, and that'll be phase two. So this is phase one. Hope you enjoy it. Now this is what we started on Thursday. What we did, let old Fluffy get in the picture here. What we did is we took a couple of pork shoulders and we put a good layer of salt on them and some freshly ground pepper, and then we put them in the refrigerator. They've been in since Thursday. Now it might be too long, I don't think so. I've gone a couple of days before, so it was Thursday night, late Thursday night we put them in. What we're trying to do is develop what we call the pellicle. We put that, it's kind of a dry brine. You do a dry brine, and that proteins will come to the surface and they form a film. It's kind of just a little bit sticky, tacky on the outside. That's the pellicle. And we want that because then that helps this meat absorb that smoke. And that's what we want. We want to smoke the pork, obviously. So this is ready to roll. So I'm going to show you the grill set up, and then we're going to get some smoke done here. This is Fluffy's $20 investment. It's a little smoker grill type thing a lady was selling for 20 bucks. And I thought, you know, we can do something with this. And if it works, that's what we're doing today. We're trying to make sure this works. This is going to be a gift to one of my friends. And we're going to clean it all up, get it all ready. And we're going to call it, not Brinkman, we're going to call it Little Fluffy. Anyway, it's just a little barrel type grill. It's got a nice thermometer on it. I hope it works. It should, because the lady said they didn't use it at all. They bought it used. Everything inside looked pretty good. Now what I did is I took and I had two of these grill grates full, and you can see that there's actually two full grill grates. And what I did is I cut one in half, because what I want is a split grill. I want to be able to put my meat on this side and my fire over here. I put the foil up to keep it from getting too much direct heat on the meat, and I put a full pan in here with some water in it. It's about halfway full, and that's to add some moisture, plus it'll collect some of the drippings of that meat as it smokes. So let's get a fire going. Now one of the tools I've really come to like and to find necessary are one of these charcoal chimneys. It's worth the time. They're not that expensive, the time and the money. So go out and get yourself one. You just put a little charcoal in there. I got it filled about halfway full, because again, we're going to be smoking. We're not going to be absolutely cooking this on the grill, on the smoker. And then I put in some newspaper in here. Don't get it too crowded in there, because it's got to breathe. Then we'll light it up, and in about 20 minutes we're going to have ourselves charcoal ready to go. When that charcoal's ready, we'll put that in first, and then we're going to put in some hickory. And the thing about wood is this. With your wood, here's what I suggest. Now I used to get the stuff in the store, like in the bags at Walmart, at the Sportsman's Warehouse. And what I suggest you do is you get yourself some good wood. Now there's got to be a place in your community that caters to restaurants that have pizza ovens and smokers, or just the local smoking community. Go and find yourself some good wood. The reason is, I used to get the stuff in the bag. It's very lightweight, it's very, very dry. But this stuff that I get from a place in Salt Lake, it's nice and dense, and it smokes, just smolders real nice and smokes your meat real nice. So it's worth paying a little extra money to get good wood. And get any of your fruit woods or your nut woods are great for smoking. Another thing you need to remember about your smoker is it needs to breathe. Now, on my other grills, there's vents here, and there's vents over here, in this side, and also there's vents in the top somewhere. This one has a stack, as we see right in here, a smokestack. So what you need to do for this one is it has a little tray down here, and that tray moves in and out. It's basically to clean with. But what I like to do is, we're going to open that up a little bit. Let this grill breathe. It's got to have some oxygen to make things burn and that smoke to circulate. We want the smoke to come here, go over the meat and out through the stack right here. So make sure that your smoker has the ability to breathe, just like you and me. In a matter of a few minutes, we got coals ready to go. So this is a really good tool. Another tool you're going to want to have is a pair of good heavy-duty gloves. The reason being is that when you're transferring coals to your smoker, you're going to want to have some protection, and you're going to get some sparks off of this. And it's also good for Dutch oven cooking. So get yourself some good gloves. I got these in Fillmore, Utah, for about 10 bucks at a auto parts store. I think they're welder gloves or something like that. But they work. So we're going to put the charcoal now in our smoker and get this party going. Now with your meat, when you put it on your smoker, you want it fat side up. The reason you want it fat side up is that this fat, as it heats up and the smoke and the heat get to it, it's going to start to, we call it rendering. It renders down, the fat renders down into the meat and keeps the meat nice and juicy. So now we got our coals in, they're ready to go. We're going to get ourselves a piece of hickory, and we're going to set that in there very carefully, and we're going to close this lid and see how she does. So that went in at 1220, and it looks like our temperature gauge is working. It's going to get up there. We'll see how it's up there pretty high right now. We don't want it too high. We might have to back off a little bit on our charcoal and such. But for now, we're just going to see how she goes. We got our stack open a little bit, let some smoke out, and we'll check on this in a little while. That's Ruger. He's out here helping me today. He's my buddy. Hi, buddy. How you doing? Now I'm just checking the temperature. It's been about 20 minutes. It's 20 minutes to 1, and it's a little high. What you're going to want on this is you're going to want it between, you're going to be closer to 200, 250. It's a little high, so I probably had too much charcoal in it at the onset. So we're going to, next time we'll back that charcoal down so we're not starting off so hot. But it's hard to see. We're getting a little bit of smoke out of here. That wood, it's a little windy, a little breezy, but we're getting some smoke. It's not necessarily coming out of our stack, but a little bit, but it's mostly just coming out from the seal. This is not sealed up. This is not, you know, high tech, any type of thing like that. So we are getting smoke. We can smell the hickory. So we're going to let it go a while longer, and we'll check in here in a little bit. Well, I got involved in some of my chores, so it's been over an hour. It's been about an hour and 5 minutes. But the gauge is still at 200 degrees. We don't have much smoke going on, but the gauge is 200. So what we're going to do is we're going to feed the fire. That's what you got to do every hour or so. Feed the fire, put on some more charcoal, put on some more wood. So here we are inside, well, inside the grill, the smoker. You can see the color getting on this meat from the smoke, and you can see what our fire has done is burned down. we still have a little bit of wood left here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this off, put in some more charcoal in here, and then what I'll do is I'll put that piece of wood back on and a fresh piece back on. I forgot to mention a valuable tool, and that's a pair of tongs. It's good for Dutch oven, it's good for moving hot charcoal, it's good for moving pieces of wood. So we'll take this off, just put it on the ground. We're going to put some more charcoal in there. You see our charcoal's burned down quite a bit. Get some more charcoal in there and another piece of wood. So I got us another piece of wood in here. Got the old piece, put just some briquettes in there, didn't have to fire them up or anything. You can see they're already starting to smoke a little bit, and they'll be ignited. So this will get going. We'll put another hour on this, maybe 45 minutes, and we'll come back out and we'll check and see how she's doing. It's been a couple hours now. We're gonna open her up and see how she looks after 2 hours. Temperature is right around 200, 250 there. They're looking really good. Getting a lot of nice color on them there. We've got pretty quiet on this side. We're gonna put in some more charcoal and some more wood. Looks like she's burning pretty fast. Usually the other grills the bigger grills are not burning this fast. So I may cut down the air a little bit, but it's burning. That's the good news. I've got one larger grill that when I do this, it doesn't burn quite as much. So I think this is putting off good heat, and that's going to give us a good smoke, and we're getting some real nice color on this meat here. So I think we're going to have a good smoke ring, and let's put on some more charcoal and some more wood. Get her done. We got ourselves some more charcoal on here. Put on another couple pieces of wood, one larger, one a little smaller. Getting good color on our pork. This will be hour 3. We'll put her in, and we'll come back in about an hour and see how she's doing. Looks like hour 3 is done. We're gonna look inside and see how our pork is doing. Oh, it's getting all nice and lovely. It's getting a lot of nice color on it. I think she's going to turn out just fine. I think with this grill, this smoker, we might have to check it a little more than every hour. I'm just thinking that this is burning so fast, breathing very well, and stuff is burning up pretty good, that maybe we should check it and fuel it maybe every 30 to 40 minutes. We'll check it. So we got 2 more hours, so we're going to load her up again and keep smoking. So we're going to take out some of this that hasn't all burned up yet and put that on the ground just for a minute. I think that's still one of our first pieces. Get us some more charcoal. Get this all fed. Put this back. There's another piece on there. Maybe another small one if we can find a small one. That's kind of an interesting piece. We'll put that on. So we'll just let it go. This is hour number 4, starting hour number 4, and getting excited. So we talked about a couple of tools today. We talked about having, of course, some gloves and our tongs and our charcoal chimney and good wood. Get your good wood. And a couple other things I wanted to bring up to you. Whenever I'm doing pulled pork or anything outside that's involving foil, I use the heavy duty stuff. For my Dutch ovens, for just even this little shield I put up on the smoker here. And also, you know, I guess that there might be some off-brand heavy duty that works, but I've never found any better than the stuff that you normally buy. You know, the Reynolds wrap. That's the At top of the line, it's the Cadillac, I guess, for me anyway. You do what you want, I'm just telling you that's what I use. The other thing is your charcoal. I usually buy Kingsford, and this is not an advertisement for Kingsford. Oh, here's my dog. Someone's at the fence. He's a good boy, but boy, somebody comes by and he just throws a fit. Let me tell you, there he goes. He's just a running. If you can see him or not, he's out by here he comes. He's running up and down the fence. Calm down there, big boy. Anyway, I buy Kingsford. It's good stuff. I know what I'm getting. I know what I'm gonna, the type of quality I'm getting. So, what I'm saying is, spend a little extra money. You don't need to go cheap, unless you really have to. Do what you have to do. But I'm just saying, if you can, get your Reynolds wrap, get your Kingsford. It's just like the wood. Get good wood. So those are just some tips that I like to give people. Oh, another thing you're going to need, and we'll show that. You'll see that in a minute where that comes in. Not in a minute, but in a while. Is parchment paper. I use parchment paper even when I'm smoking pork. So when I'm smoking my pork still, parchment paper comes in. I'm going to show you where that comes in. My hands are kind of dirty, aren't they? I have to wash them. That's that charcoal. Anyway, hour number 4 is underway. We're going to go back and do a few more things, and then we'll come back out here in maybe about 40 minutes, and we'll check her. Well, I had to run into town to get some supplies, as fate would have it. It's a Saturday, so there's all kinds of things going on around the house, as I'm sure there is at your house or your ranch. Anyway, hour 4 is done, so we're going to check our pork and see where we're at. I notice it's running kind of hot. It's hotter than we want it to be, but kind of hard to control a little bit. Got a lot of charcoal in there, but look at those. They're taking on a lot of nice color. They're getting nice and done. You know, get some smoke on them too. So we're gonna go 1 more hour here and see how they turn out, and we'll show you how we finish them off. Just a couple other things I wanted to talk about when we're dealing with pulled pork. First of all, you're not going to want to put a piece of pork on there that's really lean, like a pork loin, because you're going to dry it right out. You want something like a pork shoulder, pork butt, whatever your grocer calls them or your butcher calls them. We're calling them shoulders so we don't offend anybody. But you get that ratio of meat to fat that it just comes out nice, because a lot of that fat's going to render down, like we said before, and you'll see in our finished product how much juice and fat have come out of these pork shoulders. You can already see that they're smaller than when we put them on. The other thing that you should consider when with the finished pork is that it can be frozen. You can freeze it, and you can, after you pull it. Yeah, I just use a couple forks and I pull it, but you can then put it in some nice bags and freeze it in your home freezer, or if you're going to give it to somebody, you can tell them, hey, if you can't eat all that, you can freeze it. I've also come to the conclusion that you can't just use any old bun or piece of bread, because what happens is that that bun is what holds the deliciousness, and it needs to be a good bun, a good Kaiser roll or a good roll that's going to stand up to the barbecue sauce and the moistness of the pork, the juiciness. And there's one other thing that I have not fought against, but avoided these few years making pulled pork, is coleslaw. I love coleslaw, but I've never considered it on a sandwich. So find yourself a good coleslaw recipe. We're going to try a new one this weekend and try to find one that we really like. My mom used to make good coleslaw, but we never used it on a sandwich. It was a salad. It was a side dish. So the reason I'm now an advocate of coleslaw is because you've got this pulled pork that's going to be delicious for you. You're going to love it. It's juicy. It's got a lot of fattiness to it. You're going to put on there probably a good barbecue sauce. And I'll show you tomorrow when we when we letting the meat rest, I'm going to show you how we make barbecue sauce, and you can use it or you can use something else. But you got that, and it's got a lot of sweetness, and it's got a lot of body to it as well. So you need something to cut that a little bit, another note, another dimension, and that's where your coleslaw comes in. So I recommend that when you do pulled pork sandwiches, that you find yourself a good coleslaw recipe, and you make it and serve it with your pulled pork, because it's, as they say, dynamite. It'll just blow your mind. So you got your barbecue sauce, you got your pulled pork, you got your good bun, and you've got your good coleslaw. That's a combination for a delicious pulled pork sandwich. So if you need something to do between when you're checking your fire, you can always make bread. So we've been making some sourdough today, and it just kind of went a little bit crazy inside this. We got this new container and thought it'd be better than a bowl. We got a lid for it and everything. So make some bread while you're sitting around. Well, we finished our 5th hour. Air conditioner's on now. Tells you it's gotten a little warmer out here this afternoon. It's about 5:30. Mountain time, but anyway, we're done with our 5th hour, so we're going to take a look and see how our pulled pork looks after 5 hours. Temperature's still up, smoke is stopped. They got a nice bark on them already. That's all we need. We're trying to get that flavor, and remember, this is the fat side that we've got kind of roasted here. Fire just cooked right out what it did. So we're going to take and we're going to put these in some foil pan, parchment paper and foil. I'm going to show you that here. We're going to get them in the pan and we'll take it from there. We've got ourselves our foil pan. Now I get these at Sam's Club. You can get like 15 of them for 10 bucks or so. They're great. They're like a steamer pan for like a buffet table. And I got some heavy duty foil and some parchment paper. So what we're going to do, we're going to get our pork butts in here first. Another good tool that I like to have are some paper towels. I love cooking. When I use my paper towels, it makes it a lot easier. So I just took some paper towels and I took them pork shoulders out of the smoker. You can see how they've shrunk a bit, and remember to keep, when you put them in here, keep them fat side up. Don't get tempted to flip them over or anything. Fat side up so that can continue to render down in the finishing process. So we're going to get ourselves some. I grabbed the new one. Hold on just a minute. That was one of those technical difficulty moments. Please stand by. Appreciate your patience. Get yourself some parchment paper here. Put that over top. Now, kind of tuck it in if you can. Now, the reason I do that is that I found that sometimes the meat reacts to the foil. In other words, you put this foil on there, and where it's touching the meat, sometimes little holes form. So this is just a way of keeping that from happening. Nice piece of tin foil to fit over there. You're just gonna seal this up. So you got your pork shoulders in your pan with the parchment paper, foil, all sealed up. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put this in the oven in the house at 180 degrees for 10 to 12 hours. That is the finishing process for the way I do pulled pork. Now in phase 2, what we're going to do, and this is just a preview for phase 2, just a spoiler alert, we're going to tell you what we're going to do in phase 2. We're going to do everything almost exactly as we did to this point, except we're not going to, we're going to take one of those pork butts, excuse me, I said butt, one of them pork shoulders, and we're going to put it in a smaller foil pan, parchment paper foil, seal it up. We're going to put it back on the smoker. Now we're not going to put wood, we're just going to use charcoal, and we're going to let that cook on the smoker for 10 to 12 hours. So we're going to start phase 2 early in the morning. I'll tell you that right now. The second pork butt, the plan is to take it and put it into a deep Dutch oven or a Dutch oven and fire up some charcoal and cook it in the Dutch oven. Maybe even put some liquid in there and we'll braise it for the remainder of the cooking process, which will be quicker, be like putting it in a hot oven rather than a slow oven. So we're going to put it in a Dutch oven, maybe 350 to 375 degrees. We'll try to maintain that heat for a couple hours, and we'll check our doneness, and we'll try to finish it that way. The whole reason we're doing that is, oh, thank goodness the air conditioner went off so I can hear myself think. That's one of the disadvantages of working out in the yard, is you've got noise. Anyway, what the reason we want to do it differently than we do in our home oven is, what if we don't have our home oven? What if we at camp and we want to do pulled pork? Well, we can do it one of two ways. We can do it here, freeze it and take it, or we can make it there. Or if we're on the trail or wherever we want to make it outside. Maybe we have 10 to 12 hours to do that, or maybe we want to throw it in a Dutch oven after we smoke it and finish it off that way in a couple hours and serve our hungry trail hands or our campers. So that's why we're doing phase 2 that way, and we'll come back to that. But right now, it's Saturday. This is going in the oven overnight, basically. Early tomorrow morning, early Sunday morning before church, we're going to pull it out, let it rest, make our barbecue sauce, and then pull it. So we'll see you tomorrow morning. Well, today we're back in the garage, and it's Sunday. That's why I got my Sunday go to meeting clothes on. I stayed up a little bit too late making that bread last night, so we we didn't get to the pulled pork before church. So here's one of the loaves of bread I made. We're going to have a bread episode, obviously, but made 2 of these, and they came out pretty good. They don't have much sour to them, even though we used our sourdough starter, but we'll talk about that another time. So right now what we're going to do, we've got the pulled pork out of the oven. We've let it rest, and now we're going to take the foil off, and we're going to look at it and see what our finished product looks like. Okay, so we're just taking the foil off. Let it rest. Remember, you let your meat rest so that all the juices, well, not all the juices, but most of the juices will go back into the meat. So when you cut the meat, you don't lose your juice and dry out your whatever meat you're cooking, especially on turkeys and things like that. So there they are. Those are the 2 shoulders we did yesterday. And what I'm going to do is grab me some paper towels. Again, one of those tools you should have on hand. And I'm going to turn these over. I want to put them, well, before I do that, let's look at this fat a little bit. See if we can't get rid of some of this fat. Some people will just put all this in, but what I like to do is get rid of some of this excess. It smells really good. I wish you could smell it. Smells really good. That's just done with salt and pepper. So we get some, see how much that fat has rendered down into the meat. And this is juice down in here. We got Meat, juice, and fat is what we have. So we don't have a lot of fat left. I think we got it pretty good yesterday. So what we want to do now is I want to flip these shoulders over. And again, I apologize yesterday because I said the word pork butt, and I might have offended some people. So we're going to try to keep shoulders as our vernacular. Dog's chasing. Yeah, I can't even flip them over. They're falling apart. But we're just not. We're going to go forward with that. We're just going to start pulling them apart. I just used a couple forks. They just come right apart. There's our pulled pork right there. And one thing I like to do too, before I get going too far here, is I like to take and pull out some of this juice. Now the reason I do that is twofold. One, I want to save some for our barbecue sauce. And also, I like to pull the pork and then I like to put that juice back on top of it. Kind of put it over top of the pulled pork. So we're going to go ahead here and get some of this juice out. And then we'll go from there. So there's your pulled pork. That's both shoulders pulled. Now what I'll do is I can serve it right in this pan, but I wanted to show you a couple pieces here. I wanted to show you the smoke ring we got off our little smoker. And that's what this pink is here. You're getting your smoke ring. A little bit on that side there. Get some here again. Get your smoke ring right in here. So that smoker works. We know that. So what I'll do too is I'll take some of this excess juice that we took out and I'll just pretty much baste over top of it. I'll do this for a couple reasons. Well, in a couple situations, rather. What I want to do is when I serve it, of course, I want it to be moist. So I'll just, if I'm serving out of this pan, I'll make sure that it's nice and hydrated, if you will. So another thing is too, if I'm going to freeze it, put it in some bags, what I'll do is I will put a little bit of juice in each bag as well once I put the pork in. So we've got our pulled pork's ready. So what I wanted to do next is we already made the barbecue sauce, but I want to talk to you about it before we finish up. Like I said, we've already made our barbecue sauce. This is just something simple that my niece and my sister came up with back in Ohio. My niece has that celiac, so she can't have the gluten. And so this just has a cup and a half of brown sugar, 2 cups of ketchup. Now you can put in 1/2 to 1 teaspoonful of garlic powder and 1/2 to 1 teaspoonful of onion powder. Now I just go with the teaspoon of each. And then a tablespoon of liquid smoke. Now I warm this a little bit. Let's get that sugar to melt and get everything kind of blended together. But you don't want to boil it, because if you boil it, it's going to be spitting at you. Let me tell you, it's pretty thick. So what I do, and what you should do or could do, is I take some of my juice here and I put some of that into my barbecue sauce. It's a good helping right there. And we just whisk that in. And that gives it a little bit more. You got some fat and you got some smokiness in there. It's going to darken it up just a mite. Just mix that in, and that'll be your secret ingredient for your barbecue sauce. So that's it for this episode. This was episode 1, really, of everything, and I apologize. It's the first time I've done this, so I'm sure I stumbled over my words a little bit. Like I said earlier, I said the word pork butt instead of pork shoulder, and didn't mean to offend. Couple of things. this is how we do it. Now, if you want to put a rub on it and put it in your smoker or whatever you want to do, go ahead. I'm just telling you, people ask me how I do it, this is how I do it. So as I said yesterday, what I'll do with that is I will make sandwiches with coleslaw, barbecue sauce, and a good bun. And then people love it. So this is Fluffy Dumplin saying thank you for watching our show here from the Chuck Wagon Garage. And you know, as we go through life, sometimes we take ourselves and life a bit too seriously. But have fun, have some joy in your life. Find joy, find fun with your family, your friends. And above all, keep things nice and fluffy.